Today I want to talk to you all about something that I think is the missing piece for a lot of high achieving people when it comes to their health. And I don't mean the missing piece like it's some secret hack nobody knows about. I mean it's the missing piece like it's quietly running the show in the background and nobody's told you about it. So we're talking about our nervous system. Now, before you click away thinking that this is going to be something like super soft and woo-woo about bubble baths and meditation, I want you to stay with me because what I'm going to share with you today is rooted in physiology. And by the end of this, you're going to understand a little bit better why your belly fat won't move, why you might be waking up from 1 to 3 a.m., why you eat perfectly all week and then blow it every weekend, and why willpower alone is never going to fix those problems. Because this is not a willpower problem, it's a biology problem. And that is genuinely good news for most people because biology can be worked with. So let's get into it. So let's start off by talking about what is the nervous system actually doing. Your autonomic nervous system is running in the background of your life 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You don't control it consciously. It honestly controls you. And it has one primary job, and that job is to keep you alive. And I know that sounds simple, but the way it does that job has enormous consequences for your health, your body composition, your hormones, your sleep, your mood, your decisions, and the way you show up in every area of your life. So here's the basic framework. Your autonomic nervous system has two main modes. The first is your sympathetic nervous system. This is your fight or flight mode. This is the system that activates when your brain perceives a threat. Cortisol and adrenaline flood your body, your heart rate goes up, your muscles get blood rush to them, your digestion shuts down, your immune system gets suppressed, and all of your body's resources get redirected towards survival. Now, this system is brilliant. When you need to run from a predator or respond to a real emergency, it saves your life. Now, the problem is your nervous system cannot tell the difference between a tiger chasing after you and a deadline at work. It cannot distinguish between physical danger and a full inbox of emails or a difficult conversation, or maybe even a workout you've been dreading all day. Unfortunately, any perceived threat activates the same system and the same cortisol response. So the second mode is your parasympathetic nervous system. This is your rest and digest mode. This is the state where your body actually heals, it recovers, it digests food properly, it balances your hormones, and it builds muscle. Now, this is the state where fat burning is most efficient, where deep sleep happens, and where your brain can make good decisions. Now, here's the reality most people are living in. They are spending the vast majority of their time in sympathetic mode, fight or flight, survival, stress, and then wondering why their body won't respond the way they want it to. So you cannot out-train a chronically dysregulated nervous system. You cannot out-eat it, you cannot outsmart it, you cannot out-discipline it. The system is working exactly as it was designed. It just was not designed for the life most of us are living right now. So let's dive into what chronic stress is actually doing to your body. So I'm going to talk to you about what happens when your nervous system is chronically stuck in stress mode. And I want you to listen to this list and ask yourself honestly, how many of these are you experiencing right now? First, it impacts your hormones. Cortisol is your primary stress hormone. In healthy amounts, it's incredibly helpful. We can't live without it. It gets you out of bed in the morning. It helps regulate your blood sugar. It has a natural rhythm, high in the morning, low at night. But when cortisol is chronically elevated, it starts disrupting everything downstream. High cortisol suppresses progesterone. It disrupts estrogen. It signals your body to hold on to body fat, specifically in your midsection, because your body thinks you need to store energy to survive whatever threat you're facing. And here's what nobody talks about. Cortisol also interferes with your thyroid function. Your thyroid is responsible for your metabolic rate. So when cortisol is chronically high, your thyroid pulls back, your metabolism slows down, and you're sitting there eating less, training harder, and wondering why the scale isn't moving. That is not a willpower failure, it's a cortisol problem. It's a nervous system problem. The second big impact comes from sleep. Your body needs cortisol to be low at night so that melatonin can release. Melatonin is what triggers your deep restorative sleep. But when your nervous system cannot down-regulate, when you're still running on adrenaline at 10 p.m. because you're working and doom scrolling and thinking about tomorrow's problems, your cortisol stays elevated. So melatonin doesn't rise the way it should, so you end up with what I call wired but tired. You're wide awake but exhausted at the same time. And I know you know the feeling. You're exhausted but you can't go to sleep. You fall asleep okay, but you wake up between 1 and 3 a.m. Your brain starts running, you can't go back to sleep. And that's not a sleep disorder, it's your nervous system in threat mode. So the downstream effect of that is one bad night's sleep raises ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone. It lowers leptin, which is your fullness hormone. So after a poor night's sleep, you are biologically hungrier, less satisfied by food, and more drawn to high calorie, high reward foods. And it's not because you have no willpower, it's because your hormones are telling you to eat. So your problem with sleep is a nervous system problem. Third, and this one is going to hit for a lot of you, is fat loss and body composition. So cortisol is catabolic, which means it breaks down tissue. Long-term elevated cortisol breaks down muscle and drives fat storage, especially visceral fat around your organs. So that's the fat that sits deep around the abdomen, your organs. It gives you a belly. So if you've done everything right, you're hitting your protein, you're training consistently, you've been in a calorie deficit, but you still can't get the belly fat to move, I want you to hear this. Your body is not broken. It's not betraying you. It's responding perfectly to what it believes is a dangerous situation by holding on to energy stores for survival. So that's why it's putting fat around your belly. So your belly fat is a stress symptom, not necessarily a food symptom, and it's definitely not a laziness symptom. It is a stress response problem. So this is why overtraining backfires. If you're already running high on cortisol and you layer 2-a-day workouts, you're doing 90 minutes of cardio 6 days a week, you're under eating, then you're adding more cortisol to a cortisol problem. So the answer is not always more, sometimes the answer is less and smarter. The fourth impact is our digestion. Your digestive system only operates well in the parasympathetic state. So when you are stressed, your digestion gets shut down. Blood flow goes away from your gut towards your muscles and your brain. So if you're eating on the go, you're eating at your desk, you're eating between meetings, you're eating super quickly, you're eating while you're scrolling, you're eating while you're stressed, you're eating while you're watching high stress TV, then you are not absorbing nutrients the way you think you are. You can be eating a perfectly dialed nutrition plan, but not fully utilizing what you're putting into your system if your nervous system is in survival mode while you eat. This leads to bloating, digestive discomfort, irregular digestion, constipation, stomach pains. And these are often not food sensitivity issues, they are nervous system issues. The fifth thing it impacts is our brain and our decision-making processes. So this one is for you high performers in the room. Your brain is drastically impacted by this. Your prefrontal cortex is the part of your brain that responds to rational decision-making, long-term thinking, impulse control, and emotional regulation. So under chronic stress, it goes offline. This is where the emotion-driven part of your brain takes over. And this is why you make decisions you regret when you're overwhelmed. You snap at your kids after a hard day, why you're getting in fights with your husband over dumb, small things. Or men, why you're getting in fights with your wife. This is why you're a completely different person when you're under pressure. And it's not a character flaw. Your biology literally shifts which part of your brain is running the show. And a regulated nervous system makes for a better leader, a better parent, a better spouse, a better decision maker. It is not separate from your performance, it is the foundation of it. Okay, now that we've established that your nervous system is running basically every system in your body, let me tell you about the single most important structure in nervous system regulation. And it has a name most people have heard before, but they don't really understand it. And it's called the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve is the longest cranial nerve in your body, and it runs from your brainstem all the way down through your neck, your heart, your lungs, and into your gut. And it is the primary communication highway between your brain and your body. When your vagus nerve is healthy and active, it keeps you in that parasympathetic rest and digest state. It slows your heart rate, it improves your digestion, it regulates your inflammatory response, it keeps you calm. We measure vagal health through something called heart rate variability, or HRV. And I know this is becoming a big hot topic. Everyone talks about HRV. Your Oura rings read it, your watches read it, but it is really important. This is the slight variation in time between your heartbeats. So high HRV means your nervous system is flexible. So the higher the HRV, the better. It can ramp up when it needs to, and it comes back down efficiently. Low HRV means your system is stuck, usually stuck in stress mode. So the reason this matters is that vagal tone. And vagal tone is how healthy and active your vagus nerve is. And it is trainable. You can build it, you can strengthen it, and when you do, everything we talked about in the last segment can start to shift. So your sleep improves, your fat metabolism improves, your digestion improves, your hormones begin to rebalance, your emotional regulation improves, But it doesn't take years to do this. It takes consistency in the right places. So I'm gonna give you some practical steps to take. I'm gonna give you some tools that have the most evidence behind them that I personally use and recommend. So these are not complicated, but they do require intentionality, and that's exactly what we're teaching. So number one is a physiological sigh. This is the fastest way to lower stress response acutely. It works in under 60 seconds. So here's how. You take 2 quick inhales through your nose and then 1 long, slow exhale through your mouth. The double inhale fully inflates the air sacs in your lungs, which become partially collapsed when we breathe shallowly when we're stressed. The long exhale activates your vagus nerve and drops your heart rate almost immediately. So you do this 2 or 3 times back to back and you will feel a physical shift. This is not a mindset tool, it is physiological. This is your body working with you. So as simple as this. So we're gonna do 2 quick inhales, 1 long exhale. And if you want to sigh on the exhale, that can actually make this more impactful. So what we're going to do is 2 inhales, 1 exhale. So you could use this at any time. Use it before a hard conversation. Use it before a meal, before bed. If you have a stressful thought come to mind, if you're in traffic and somebody slams on their brakes in front of you, if somebody cuts you off in line, after something stressful, anytime you need to come back down, it is so simple. All you have to do is 2 quick inhales, 1 long exhale. Now the next one is one of my favorites, and it's a post-meal walk. So 10 minutes after your largest meals of the day, no podcast, no phones, but just walking, just you and the silence. It does 2 things. It improves your insulin sensitivity, meaning your body is going to process blood sugar more efficiently. It activates your vagus nerve through movement and natural breathing regulation. And it's probably the most underrated habit in metabolic health that people don't talk about enough, but walking is the foundation of everything we should do. Our bodies were designed to walk. If you have the ability to walk after every meal, I'd recommend that, or even short walks throughout the day. You can even pair the walking with the breathing we talked about. Number 3 is going to be morning sunlight. Getting natural light in your eyes as soon as you can after you wake up is going to set your cortisol peak at the right time. So early in the morning, cortisol spikes to wake us up. It's the hormone that helps wake us up in the morning, and then it naturally starts to come down throughout the day. This creates a cascade that allows melatonin to rise at the right time at night. Morning sunlight is free, so you walk outside for 10 minutes in the morning, it's going to regulate your entire cortisol system and your sleep rhythm for the day. Now, if you're the kind of person that you get to work before the sun comes up, if by chance when the sun comes up you can go stand by a window and let the sunlight hit your eyes, do this. If you can go sit outside for a few minutes, maybe you can't take a walk, but you can just let the sun hit you. If you're driving to work and it's safe to not wear sunglasses and let the sun hit you while the sun is coming up, do that as well. Number 4 is going to be having a screen time cutoff before bed. Blue light from your phone and your TV suppress your melatonin production by up to 50%. So you're chemically signaling your brain to stay awake. So 60 minutes before bed, turn your screens off or wear red light blocking glasses, the bright orange ones. This is not a suggestion. If you're struggling with sleep and you're not doing this, this is where you need to start. This is a foundational movement you need to make if your sleep quality is not ideal. Number 5 is going to be eating breakfast. And I know that fasting has become this very popular thing, but I don't recommend it for anybody. I believe that when we're young, the context of fasting can be fine, but as we're going into our 30s, our careers, we have kids, we have spouses, we have stress. If we're already high stress and if we're high achieving and we're running on cortisol, then the moment we wake up, we're skipping breakfast and trying to exercise or start our day or dive into emails. This is not helping you. Your body needs the signal that it's safe. So if our cortisol spikes in the morning, we wake up and we don't feed it and we start adding stressors to it, then our cortisol stays elevated throughout the day rather than coming down. This is going to exacerbate the body fat you're holding. So you're telling your body resources are not available, and your body triggers the idea of famine and starvation, which means it's going to hold on to everything you do feed it. So within 30 minutes to 90 minutes of waking up, we need to be prioritizing protein, getting 30 to 40 grams. This is going to stabilize our blood sugar, which stabilizes our cortisol, which stabilizes everything downstream. Now, I'm the kind of person, I wake up at 4 a.m., so I'm not going to be eating a full breakfast at 4:30. So what I do is I drink my coffee with my collagen, which is 10 grams of protein at 4:30 in the morning to start bringing that cortisol down. And then at 6 a.m., have a 30 to 50 gram protein breakfast with my family. So the key point here is within 30 minutes to an hour of waking up, if you can start getting some protein into your body to start bringing your cortisol down, that will be ideal, especially if you work out in the morning. Number 6 is going to be strength training, not just cardio. Long duration cardio, especially if you're already stressed, raises your cortisol more. So strength training done at an appropriate volume, 3 to 5 sessions a week at most, 30 to 45 minutes, actually improves cortisol regulation over time. It builds muscle, which is your metabolic armor. It creates your metabolism, and it gives your body a stress output that has clear recovery. Unlike slow chronic stress your nervous system is already dealing with, this is going to help actually bring your stress down. So you train hard and you recover hard. That's how the philosophy should work. Number 7, and this one is going to be the hardest for a lot of you, is taking intentional rest. So not rest as a reward, not rest because you earned it, but rest as a non-negotiable part of your health protocol. So your nervous system recovers during rest and muscle builds during rest, so not during output. So many high-achieving people believe that you have to be productive to earn rest. This is just a default in so many of us, and it's quietly destroying our health. You're not lazy for resting, it makes you regulated. These are not the same thing. So even 10 to 15 minutes of intentional stillness, no output, no productivity goal, but just existing can change your entire cortisol profile. And I know it sounds simple, it is simple. It's just not easy for people who've been running on stress hormones for a decade and live off of a to-do list. So here's what I want you to take away from today. Your nervous system is not a soft topic. It's not a wellness trend. It is the foundational operating system underneath your hormones, your metabolism, your sleep, your digestion, your mental performance, and your emotional regulation. And the reason so many smart, driven, hardworking people are stuck in their health is not because they don't know how or they're not trying hard enough, but it's because they're trying to solve a nervous system problem with more discipline, and that doesn't work. Discipline in a deregulated body just creates more stress. So what works is learning to feel safe in your own body and then building a life that supports that safety as a non-negotiable. So not as a luxury, not as something you do when you have time, but as the foundation. Because when your nervous system is regulated, everything else gets easier. The nutrition clicks, the training actually produces results. Your sleep gets restored, your hormones balance. The decisions you make come from clarity, not reactivity. You become a different version of yourself, not because you're trying harder, but because you're stopping fighting your own biology. And this is what identity evolution is about. Not another plan, but becoming a person who lives differently. So if this hits for you, share it with someone who might need to hear it. And until next time, keep leaning into your non-negotiable habits and start to keep your nervous system front and center when it comes to your daily habits and how you're living so that you can get most regulated.